Hello there, you're watching Your Experience Guide, and this is episode 2 of my pre-season updates from Blackpool Pleasure Beach. Today I'm going to take a walk around the perimeter of the park to see what winter work's going on. Now of course, as we come to the end of January and into February, usually at this time of the year, this is when we start seeing the wooden roller coasters testing at Blackpool Pleasure Beach. But because the season is starting later this year, to be precise on the 18th of March 2023, there'll still be no ride testing today. However, I would imagine there's a lot of work going on which can be seen from outside of the park, so I'll be updating on that, also taking a look at where we're up to with the big one Retrack, amongst other things that are going on around Blackpool Pleasure Beach. If you do enjoy these type of videos on this channel, please give it a thumbs up because it is a massive help to the channel and encourages me to do these a lot more often. If these pre-season updates are still popular here on this channel, they will become a weekly thing, probably from next week onwards as we get towards the new Blackpool Pleasure Beach season. So please do give it a thumbs up because that will definitely encourage me to keep coming out in this cold weather and getting these updates. So it's time to walk around the Pleasure Beach, see what's going on, and I will continue the narration of this video from the warmth of my office at home. Out of the cold and into the warm, or almost into the warm at home. Still got a bit of a cold head, which is why I've got the hat on. Nothing to do with needing a haircut at all. So let's talk about what I've seen at Blackpool Pleasure Beach today. And going to start with the progress of the wooden roller coasters. So the last time I did one of these updates at Blackpool Pleasure Beach, there was a lot of work going on up on the Grand National, up on the Big Dipper, and also up on Nickelodeon Streak. And today, when I filmed this update, it was no different. There was plenty going on all of the wooden roller coasters. So we're going to start with Nickelodeon Streak because that is the easiest one to see from outside of the park, with it being right next to the road. So it looks like they are doing a bit of a retrack from the top of the lift hill as it comes round to the first drop. There's quite a lot of work going on up there. There was 3 workmen up there. There was a lot of hammering going on. So I don't know exactly what they were doing. I would need to get the drone up in the air and have a look, but that's not allowed over Blackpool Pleasure Beach, so we won't be doing that, unfortunately. But judging from what I've seen when this kind of work's gone on in the past, it does look like it's going to be... It's not a major retrack because it is just the bend into the first drop. It's not like they're doing the whole ride or as much as they did on the Grand National last year as an example. But it's still a relevant retrack, and if it takes that little bump out of the first drop of Nickelodeon Streak, then I think everybody will be happy about that. And I think overall, Nickelodeon Streak is by far the smoothest wooden roller coaster at Blackpool Pleasure Beach, so I don't think it needs lots of retracking work done. However, it is good to see the bit that probably needs it more than anything, having a little bit of work done this close season. Now, I said when I was stood on Blackpool Seafront that at this time of the year, as we get into February, because we are now at the end of January, which has been the longest month ever, usually we would start seeing wooden roller coaster testing at Blackpool Pleasure Beach. And it was around this time last year, and I will put the footage on screen now, where I went to Blackpool Pleasure Beach and watched from the outside where they were pushing around Big Dipper's 1 carriage only, and then they send it round with just 1 carriage. And the process of that will probably be repeated this year. I don't know if I'll be there to film it. Hopefully I'll get lucky again, because it is really fascinating to watch. So what happens there is they basically just send it round with its lead carriage, and it won't get all the way round without a bit of help. So when it gets to a certain point, there will be Pleasure Beach engineers and staff from probably all departments waiting for it. They'll give it a bit of a push. It'll go over the next hill, go up to the next one, and then it'll need a push again and again and again. But with each run, it'll gather more and more momentum, and eventually it'll be able to get round without a push. And it takes a couple of hours to get to that point. And then once it's cycled for probably another hour or so on its own in just the 1 carriage, then it'll be the 2 carriages that go round and eventually the full train. So this is a process which has gone on at Blackpool Pleasure Beach for a long time, and that will, I'm fairly certain, be done again on... I'm not sure if they do it on the Grand National, but because I didn't see it happen on the Grand National last year, but I definitely saw it on Big Dipper, definitely saw it on Nickelodeon Streak. However, bringing it back to the now, we are probably 2-3 weeks off of that yet, just because Blackpool Pleasure Beach is opening in mid-March rather than early February this year. So Pleasure Beach have got much longer to work on all of the wooden roller coasters and get them get them where they want them to be before the 2023 season. I say if they wanted them, if they were getting them exactly where they want them to be, there'd probably be a full retrack of them all. But there's neither the time or the budget to do that in one closed season. However, on the subject of retracks, you've probably all seen that Megaphobia at Oakwood is getting a retrack from the Gravity Group, which I believe they're redoing 40% of it, and it's costing around £2 million. Is it out of the question that Blackpool Pleasure Beach will take that route in the future? I certainly don't think so, especially when you think that they're retracking 40% of a wooden roller coaster for £2 million or $2 million. It's certainly not out of the question that we will see Gravity Group at Blackpool Pleasure Beach in the future doing something like what they're doing with Megaphobia, maybe to the Big Dipper, maybe to the Grand National, less likely with Nickelodeon Streak. But if that is to happen, and it's something that maybe does happen in the future, that would be really exciting to see, because whilst it would be getting a little bit of modernisation, it would still be pretty much a traditional wooden coaster. I mean, it wouldn't be taken too far away from what we all know it. A prime example is the Beast at Kings Island was retracked by Kings Island for 2022, and it was still very much riding like a traditional wooden roller coaster with its PTC train. So that one is certainly a possibility at Blackpool Pleasure Beach in the future. This is not me giving anything away. I genuinely haven't heard anything. It's just me speculating. It would be very interesting to see if that's a route that Blackpool Pleasure Beach go down in the future. Lastly, with the wooden roller coasters, you may have seen that Big Dipper's Onion was removed a couple of weeks ago, ready to have a bit of a refurb ahead of Big Dipper's 100th season. Well, in this video, it's not going to be great footage, unfortunately, but I could see from a couple of angles that Big Dipper had quite a few people up on the structure, actually jet washing in the area where the Onion normally is. Now, calling it the Onion, because Pleasure Beach pretty much confirmed, we should call it the Big Dipper Onion in a video a couple of days ago. So, yeah, it wasn't the easiest thing to film due to it being in quite a crowded space in the Pleasure Beach, but there was workmen up on Big Dipper. It was being jet washed, and according to an article from the Gazette, the Blackpool Gazette, Big Dipper is having a full repaint for its 100th season. Now, if that is the case, then I'm all for it. It will be great to see Big Dipper fully repainted. Whether that's true, whether they heard that right, I guess remains to be seen, because Blackpool Pleasure Beach haven't been repainting the woodies for a long time now, as you can see from how the Grand National looks. So it will be great if they repaint all of Big Dipper, but I'm not convinced that they will do, and it may just be something that the Gazette heard wrong. But fingers crossed that Big Dipper is fully repainted. Now, there's been a couple of rumours as well that Big Dipper's getting a new train livery for this season to celebrate its 100th anniversary. Again, if that's the case, I'm all for it, and it'll be great to see. Moving on to the next point of interest, and that is going to be the big one, which you've probably seen by now has got some track missing because it's having another retrack. Talking of the big one, best steely in the country? I don't think anyone's going to agree with me there, but that's my opinion, which I know you'll probably all think I'm daft. Anyway, onto the subject of the retrack. The new track's not on site yet. I did have a wander around the whole perimeter of Pleasure Beach. There's no sign of the new track yet. However, the track is with the painters, and I'm very, very confident that the big one will be open on opening weekend at Blackpool Pleasure Beach, unless it's windy. If it's windy, there's nothing anyone can do about it, but hopefully it won't be. I'm certain the track will be in place. I'm certain it'll have been tested. Pleasure Beach will just be at the mercy of the good weather, I think, but hopefully there'll be no wind. It'll be a nice sunny day like today in Blackpool, just without the wind, and hopefully the big one will be open for opening day, which of course it wasn't last year because it was having its big retrack. But I'm very confident that unless the weather's bad, it'll be open for opening weekend this year. Sticking with the big one, there's also some track work going on the second drop. I don't know if you call it a well tunnel or something, but there's like plastic sheeting. There's like a little cover where there's like a working space on the second drop, and there's scaffolding up to that. We've seen this before on the big one. We've seen it on the drop going underneath Big Dipper before it was retracked, and we've seen it in other areas of the big one, which I believe have been retracked or being retracked currently. So it points to there's something up with the track on the second drop, which is why they're working on that too. But obviously whatever's wrong with it is not bad enough that it needs retracking this winter. However, I wouldn't rule it out being retracked next winter, or certainly around that area being retracked. But there's obviously something that needs doing with it, otherwise the scaffolding wouldn't be up there. Again, though, I'm absolutely certain that it's not going to have any impact on Pleasure Beach getting the big one open for opening weekend. It's just interesting to see that not only is the Retrack area a point of interest on the big one this year, there's also notable work going on the second drop, but it's only a small section. And like I say, I saw this before the 2019 season, I saw it before the 2020 season. It does happen, and I think we've even seen it mid-season. I think last year, where they're currently retracking, something like this was done. So not entirely sure what they're doing, but clearly it needs doing. In the last update, I didn't really talk about Valhalla. I might not have spoken about it at all. I can't remember, to be quite honest with you. But today, there is absolutely nothing to report on. The waterfalls were off. There was no work going on from the outside that I could see. And the thing with that is, with Valhalla, the majority of the work will be going on inside the building, inside Pleasure Beach's workshops, inside Pleasure Beach's model shop. So we're not going to see much of what's going on with Valhalla unless they do switch on the waterfalls, or unless we see them lifting boats in or something like that. But otherwise, there's not a lot to see for Valhalla from outside of the park at this point in time, because most of the work is being done out of sight, basically. And in terms of when will it open, well, there's still no news from Blackpool Pleasure Beach in terms of an opening date, which in my opinion means that they don't actually know when it's going to open yet, which, to be fair, at this point is probably fair enough that they're not saying anything, because they probably don't want to overpromise something that they can't stick to, which is very much what happened with the opening in summer 2022 advertising at the start of last year. There is a couple of rumours going around that it will be open before Easter, but not on opening weekend, but I guess we'll just have to see with that one. This next thing might not be very interesting if you are only interested in the rides at Blackpool Pleasure Beach. However, there is quite a bit of groundwork going on opposite Noah's Ark, where you go into Blackpool Pleasure Beach basically at the main entrance. And there's also a little rumour going around that the Globe Theatre might be getting taken down and replaced with something in the next couple of years. I very much doubt it'll be a ride, but let's see what happens with that there, because, well, the Globe has been there for a very long time. Of course, it was where Forbidden used to be, it's where Eclipse used to be. So it would be strange to see that gone, but it's only a rumour. It's not come directly from Blackpool Pleasure Beach. It's just a little rumour, so guess we'll watch this space with that one. But I thought it was worth a mention whilst covering the other work that's going on outside of Noah's Ark. Now, sticking with Blackpool Pleasure Beach rumours, I'm sure everybody watching is aware of the big wheel rumour going around at Blackpool Pleasure Beach. Now, of course, this came about because of the Head Above the Clouds trademark that Blackpool Pleasure Beach registered in 2022, which of course had names of Blackpool Pleasure Beach's owners and directors connected to it. And then since then, there's been all of the markings behind the Bolodrome and the car park, and there is also, since Pleasure Beach closed, an awful lot of markings in front of the Bolodrome building as well. There is also the rumours that the Bolodrome building is going to be closed and emptied by the end of the 2023 season and then removed. That rumour has been going around now since 2018, if not earlier. But that is the rumour. There's a lot of markings in front of the building, on the car park behind it. And now everybody thinks this is going to be a big wheel. Now, that's understandable, because obviously the trademark was registered. There was a logo with a big wheel. Big wheel gondolas were spotted at Blackpool Pleasure Beach. There is a lot of markings, and I mean a lot of markings, both in front and behind of the Bolodrome building. Probably too many markings for a big wheel, but everything does point to Blackpool Pleasure Beach building this big wheel. Whether it will actually go by the Bolodrome building or on the car park or in that area remains to be seen. But there is also rumours that that space is going to be used for something completely different to a big wheel and a hell of a lot more exciting. I'm not going to go into those rumours today because I have nothing to back those up, but I'm going to do more digging into it and see what happens. So probably by the time I do my next update video, we'll probably start seeing big wheel gondolas in that space. But like I say, that one is very much in the balance. I still believe that Blackpool Pleasure Beach will go ahead with this big wheel, because why would there be gondolas at Blackpool Pleasure Beach? Why would Blackpool Pleasure Beach be registering a trademark with a logo, with a Ferris wheel, unless that big wheel is going somewhere else in Blackpool? You know, Blackpool Pleasure Beach can own other things in Blackpool that on at Blackpool Pleasure Beach, so to speak. So let's see how that one plays out. It's very much in the balance, and hopefully we'll find out more about that soon. If you do have any rumours of your own, feel free to put them in the comments, because everybody has got their own opinions on what's going on with those markings, with that area, with the big wheel, with a potential new roller coaster and other sort of stuff going on at Blackpool Pleasure Beach. The only people who truly know are the Thompson family and anyone else that they've told that works for Blackpool Pleasure Beach. But right now it's something for us to discuss, something to all debate about, and something for us Blackpool Pleasure Beach fans to be excited about, because let's be honest, a big wheel or a new roller coaster is a lot more exciting than the new shop, even though a new shop is a good thing. That's all from me today. If you have enjoyed this video, like I said at the start, please give it a thumbs up. Can you help me get a video to 500 likes? Because that would be amazing, and I would definitely be encouraged to start doing these updates weekly. If you didn't like what I was talking about and you think I'm talking absolute nonsense, please give it a thumbs down, because believe it or not, that really helps the channel too. And if you've got any rumours, any questions, anything else, or just feedback, please put it in the comments below, and that'll be greatly appreciated. Many thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.